Well, good morning everybody. Pete here on my boat, Life at the Limit, down in the Florida Keys. So pretty quick little project this morning. I'm gonna move my Starlink internet satellite receiver. It was on the bow here, and I'm gonna move it up into the helm station up there. We're gonna use a couple really cool little WireCare products this morning just to mount it. So we're gonna move it right up there. Nice little upgrade to the boat and make things a little bit more comfortable. Also keeps my receiver out of the elements. For this little project, we're going to use our TC105 zip tie mounting anchor. We're going to use some T&B zip ties. You're going to need a little bit of acetone just to clean the surface, and you can use any really strong adhesive. We're going to use JB Weld very sparingly so we can get it back off one day if we need to. Now I'm just going to go up, clean the surface, scratch up the surface a little bit with a piece of Scotch-Brite. Got a little piece right here. Going to scratch the surface where I'm going to mount it, and I'm also going to scratch the surface of the TC105, and that'll give us a really good bond. And then 2 zip ties, reroute the wire, and we're probably going to use a couple little stick-on zip tie blocks to secure our wire so it's neatly routed through the boat. Okay, ready? Let's go get it done. All right, first thing we're gonna do here is measure from the edge of the fiberglass here up to our Starlink mount, just to make sure it's straight and doesn't look silly when we mount it. 16 inches there. And I'm just gonna mark with a little dot where we wanna put the zip tie blocks. And now we're gonna clean it with some acetone. I got to show you a cool little tool I've learned about in boat life. It's called the boat key. This opens all of the freshwater, waste, diesel, all the caps on the boat. Pretty interesting little tool, but you can also use it to open your can of acetone. This may wipe off our mark, so I'm just going to put another one. So our zip tie block sticks, we're just going to rough this up a little with some Scotch-Brite. You can use a light sandpaper too, you just need some scuffs. And we'll wipe that again with a little bit of acetone. Just about there. Next thing we need to do is mix up a little bit of our epoxy. Take 2 of these TC105, help it have a little more secure hold. Okay, we're ready to stick those babies. Just got to mix up some epoxy. It's just 2-part JB Weld 1-to-1. Mix it up, and we're gonna just put it around the edge here of the TC105. Just around the edge. Stick it, let it dry, and we'll be ready to throw some zip ties in there. So we've got some JB Weld, and it takes just a teeny little bit of this stuff, especially for just a zip tie block. So we're just going to put 2 little blobs next to each other that are pretty close to the same size. So you're just going to mix this together till it ends up being one color. That looks pretty good. So let's take this up to our mounting spot, and we'll plop our blocks on there. Okay, we got our JB Weld mixed up. We marked our spots here. Now we've scuffed up our TC105s. Put a teeny bit around the edges there. You don't want to block the little hole with JB Weld where your zip tie has to go through. And just give it a little push. I see some squeeze out around the edges. That's good. And that's going to be about the right width to go over the mount there. Do the same thing with this guy. Maybe try a little less. Stick our second block there. We'll take a quick measure in case we need to move them. 16. Now we gotta wait till tonight probably before we put the zip ties in, but that's ultimately gonna be it. Relocated our satellite receiver. It's gonna be nice and stable, especially with the pool noodle on the front for protection. Those zip tie blocks gluing down. We'll come back later and put some zip ties on. And then we're gonna reroute. You can see this wire, the big old wire mess, and the wire that used to run out to the bow. We're gonna rewire that so it's nice and tidy and we don't see very much of it on the boat. We'll probably use some of the stick-on zip tie blocks for that, which are really handy. Easy to put on, easy to take off. So yeah, I'll bring you back when we're about ready to tie this thing up. Well, fellow boaters, we're back here with our Starlink installation with our TC105s from WireCare, and our JB Weld is secure, and we're just going to wrap this project up here. Let's take a look at what we got. Earlier we glued down our TC105s here. They are solid, not going anywhere. Got a couple of our heavy duty zip ties here from WireCare, Thomas & Betts product here, same as the TC105, and we're just gonna zip tie our Starlink mount right to those zip tie blocks, and that's going to be as secure as we need it to be underway and not lose our satellite. We are just going to slip our zip tie under here. Get both of them through before we cinch them down. Give those a little squeeze. Tight. There we go. And we got our flush cuts. When you snip this end off, it's smooth. If you've ever cut one of these off with side cutters and left that extremely sharp and lethal bit on there and sliced your arm or something else with it, you'll understand why we use flush cuts. There we go. Okay, and we talked about tidying up the wire a little bit, so I'm going to show you what I did with a couple of stick-on zip tie blocks. These work really well. You just clean the surface with a little acetone, stick them down, and you got 4 places you can slip the zip tie through. I just slip through that way or that way. So we came out from the back there, came over here, little zip tie block, and then we ran it down the side here, and you can see I got a few zip tie blocks along the way. Not much I can do about the giant bundle of wire right now, but yeah, just kind of made our installation a little bit tidier, and we don't see the wire all over the boat now. That's going to be it, guys. That's TC105 to hold your Starlink down on your boat. You can use those little guys for just about anything. The installation is fairly permanent because you're going to epoxy them down if it's something like that you know is going to stay there for a while. Also very secure, so easy to use. Grab those from wirecare.com. You got TC105s and you got wire ties or zip ties or tie wraps, however you want to call them. And then the flush cuts, that's going to be a hardware store thing. Mine are snap-on, but they don't have to be snap-on. Just make sure they're flush cuts. Okay, over and out. See you next time.